Just check.
Recording now.
Thank you.
I'm sure I would. My anniversary.
Oh, well, there you have it.
Not even remember.
Yeah.
My wife made me go through the whole album, so I saw anybody that was there.
It's 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna
Thank
call
you.
this meeting to order, please.
Oh, thank you.
That's pretty funny. Good evening and welcome, everyone. This meeting is being recorded and will be placed on the city's YouTube channel. We'll move on. Roll call, please, and state your name. Mary Wayne.
Nick Joel, getting Wozniak, Mike here, Tom here.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda items?
Just draw your attention to the audit reports in there with the financials.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next, we have the reports. I don't see anyone from the sheriff's department. You have the rest of the department reports in your packet. Did you have any questions for any of the department heads that are present?
Is Chris gonna be here? Not surprised.
No,
No. Is he recovering from bed bugs?
no.
Any questions? Questions on the engineer's report?
I don't know if Lynn or Brian, probably not. Lynn, you have to answer this. Did we catalog at all any of the damage that some of those trucks, those big old box culverts coming through town? Allegedly damaged?
I didn't hear, other than on the gravel road, and they were talking about something with the county and adding some rock.
Well, I know the gravel road out.
As far as I know, they haven't.
Annihilated, and I know they were taking down signs, but I don't think they were within city limits on weight limits on the bridge. But, you know,
I didn't hear anything about that.
yeah, how many go out side by sides, they can go out there and then gossip about what they're doing. One of them includes taking down some signs and weight limits on bridges, so. You know,
They're out there from the east, they come down 80th Street and they go.
they used to, but recently they've been coming down 80th and then through like Southview or 76, and then they go in that way.
Yeah, they've been going all the way on the gravel. We've been out there a little bit here in the last couple of days, and that's where they've all been going, thankfully.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments on the department reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to the public hearing. We have three in a row public hearings. Our first one is on the fiscal year 26 budget. And so I'm going to open the public hearing on the budget. Cynthia, do you have any comment on what's in the council packet or before that?
I think the only change, when Lynn County reviewed the state forms, they wanted to see the leases paid out of the debt service fund rather than directly out of the loss or directly out of the general road required, so I switched them, so the transfers went up because, we have to transfer the money out of those funds into the debt service, and then the debt service will pay the same amounts, just paying it different. That's really the only change.
Cynthia, did we receive any public comments prior to the meeting on the
No.
budget?
Nothing, not at city.
Is anyone in the audience having questions on our budget tonight? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And we'll move on to item number 7. Considering a resolution to adopt our fiscal 26 budget.
Just have two things. One is,
just want to confirm that. I spoke too much today, it's not my voice. Approving the budget, it's not approving the new items on there, that's gonna come at subsequent conversations, we're just approving the allocation of it. So like the pickleball courts, the brine maker, et cetera. Correct?
You approved the budget already has those included in it based on what we did, the work we did earlier this year on the site, the CIP and all those subsequent discussions. But yes, we do have to bring any new bids or anything before council before we execute.
And of course, let's say for the brine maker, you'd have quotes and then if it's over 10,000, you would take action at a meeting to approve it. If it's an item in the budget that's under 10,000, it would be in the claims.
So to answer your question, yes, everything that's on here is something that we're proposing to do in this next budget year. That can still be changed or amended, like as we proceed through the year, but this is what we anticipate to spend. Not what we have to spend, but what we anticipate to spend.
Anticipation, but not locked in, like Joe could make you
Yeah.
mad, and then I say to hell with your pickleball courts.
Yeah,
And then
so,
it's
but
two other
you have to
people.
budget an amount, you can't spend it if it's not budgeted.
Right, no, I understand that, I just want to make sure that we're. If approved, we're not approving that everything is on there, it's kind of like when, Dustin, I guess, was budgeted. Early on, but it didn't necessarily mean that we weren't gonna have. Yeah,
But do you have questions with something specific that's in the budget as far as?
yeah, I sent over some questions over to Dustin, he's pulling that with a bunch of other information that I think. Might provide details for everyone else too, for questions that you may or may not have, but would be good information.
And that, as I said this morning, I'm working on.
Can I ask what kind of questions, because those are things we should have talked about before we did the budget. Before we approved these things, if you had questions or concerns, we should have addressed that before this point.
Understood. Not to point this out, but I thought I would get those answers prior. So just to be clear, I did ask for these at the beginning of February.
Yep, and we're working through it.
So,
I guess I'm a little unclear then if. You brought something up to Dustin at the beginning of February, that should have been brought up to council when we're working on the budget. So that way we can all discuss it, right?
sure, I didn't want.
No, I think that's the way it's supposed to happen.
I think he just didn't want to, he feels kind of. I told him to work through me and I would start, I didn't get him done in a time, because we've been doing a bunch of stuff at once, and some of that's on me. But I was gonna filter him through me just so I could get him to everybody. Cause there's been some issues in the past, I guess, with the way he's brought them up.
So I mean, I can go through the questions. Honestly, it was, yes, I have maybe 2 or 3 questions on each of the items, but that isn't necessarily all of the potential questions. I don't know, I mean,
So moving forward in the future, the correct path is not to give them to him, to have him research and do things and then come to us. It's to have us discuss it and then we can direct him whichever path we feel like we need him to follow. So this is kind of not, procedurally, this is not something we want to have like 5 different people having the conversation with him and then, because here we are literally in April trying to approve our budget and you've still got issues or questions with things, then we should have talked about that way before now. Whether it was little things or big things, we still should have discussed it.
So I guess Dustin, to clarify with you going forward in the future,
Yep.
that just gets directed to the next council meeting.
I will follow that from now on. He just had a lot of questions that I wasn't privy to
And
answer.
that's,
So,
and that's fine.
and so some of this falls on me, as I was trying to help him get through it.
Well, and, you know, probably won't be here for the next budget process, but that is the whole reason that the clerk gives you these spreadsheets is, and we ask for questions. And honestly, you asked me answers today. I did not know you had these questions since the 1st of February.
Yeah.
Because I sent the answers the next day.
Yeah.
And brought them to the council.
So do you, I mean, do you wanna tell us what your issues are and then we can talk about it, or?
We had an email, I can't pull it up right now, but it covers a couple of them. I don't know if you have access to your email on your laptop that was sent by Dustin today on some of the topics on budgeting items. But again, I think it goes to, okay, do you have it printed out?
Yeah.
Like,
And we'll
But-
go up and everything.
Back
Back in my day,
But no, I think really the overarching point is to answer the question you asked is, none of this is set in stone. It's what we're budgeting for. It doesn't lock us into spending anything. Now, obviously, there's some things that are locked, some salaries, health insurance, certain things like that, but I don't think it's questioning that. I think it's questioning some of the things that are slated to be purchased or going over a budget line item or needing a budget amendment of some kind, things like that. But I guess when I read the email, and it's coming from memory, is like certain things going over 4,000. What was this purchase for the desk, when we were getting more furniture to accommodate bringing in city administrator, going over, I think it was 12,000 on an $8,000 line. And, kind of like Cynthia says every year, this is our best guess based on previous years. Sometimes we try and keep everything under, but sometimes things go over as long as it doesn't meet certain threshold. My understanding is we don't have to bring it to council, and I think it's $10,000 is the limit, so. Or the maximum, I should say.
And like, I guess I was operating under the premise that we will have to revisit all these purchases again, so that's why I could have more time to get the answers to his questions that you need on those specific line items.
Yeah, and there's certain things, like we budget to buy when we were replacing, rotating out, trucks. We budget for that. But we still bring those purchases for approval, whether it's the fire truck or when we had to do that build out on the 550, I think it was from a few years ago. That all still comes to council for ultimate approval. We just try and budget it, so we have a rough idea of where all the money's going or what it's being appropriated.
Wasn't the desk expense actually not your desk, but the desk for Chris to move him to the
So
conference room downstairs? So
we
it just,
initially tried to come up with a configuration that was gonna move Joanne into that conference room and then the clerk out. And the clerk was gonna have 3 separate modules and then the mayor, and that cost was just about the same, but it was a completely different configuration. And then we decided to move Chris, and so we got a desk that matches mine and Dustin's and Chris. It's the same maker, the same style. And I worked with Joanne the entire process. We did reach out to try to get different quotes for the same make model. And the area, other office supply companies carrying that line are all owned by the company we were dealing with. They're named different, but like I sent out an email to one of them in Iowa City or Provo, I don't remember what, asking for the quote. And the person I was working with this other company called and said, we own that company too. They just sent your email back to me. And I said, oh, I didn't. So, Joanne saw the quotes and the different layouts that we worked on and the revisions, and we did a purchase order and she signed the purchase order. So I mean, it was not just a one person deal. And I felt it was important to get so it looks professional. And I'll just remind everybody, all of the other desks, chairs, cabinets, $1.
And I think ultimately, if the concern is, if it doesn't need to come, and maybe, I'm not speaking on Dan's behalf, I'm just saying if someone has a question on how things are purchased. Besides having second sets of eyes on some of these purchases, that's why the state audits us every year. To say, well, what was this purchase for? It didn't require council approval, was it necessary? And I'd say every year, the auditor comes back and the only thing they ever complain about is that was the second thing, I was gonna say, you know, having second sets of eyes and limited hands.
Yeah.
You know, with responsibilities and pissing and moaning that we provide pop to our employees and water. So if they're complaining about pop and water and none of the other purchases, I feel comfortable. So I'd like other people, whether they're council members or, you know, residents that are questioning how some things are purchased. And feel comfortable with that too.
Well, I like this new setup. I think it'll help him feel more comfortable if you've heard.
That's how, that's the procedure is supposed to be followed, so we can discuss everything before we get to a final budget, so if we do need to make changes or.
Okay, dogs.
So are we still in the budget discussion line? Are we good to move on to a resolution?
We'll go around the resolution, are we?
Yeah, we're on the resolution.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please. Ryan?
I,
Thank you. We now have fiscal year 26 budget. Moving on to item number 8 is another public hearing. This one is on the vacation of existing parking easements on city property. I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing. Who's going to speak about this one? Shane?
This is a parking easement on city property. Just off West Cemetery Road. It's adjacent to the advanced traffic Weisskopf property. It was established back in 2015, 2016, when the city acquired that property for the sanitary sewer up to Arden Heights. And dealing with the property owner at that time, they requested parking easement to assist with basically getting in and out of that building there on current Weisskopf property. It's really never been fully used, but as part of the West Cemetery Road intersection project, we're gonna make, the plan is to vacate this easement and reestablish a new easement that'll be more useful for Weisskopf and advanced traffic.
Cynthia, did we receive any public comments prior to the hearing?
None.
Anyone in the public present tonight have any questions on this easement vacation? Council, any discussions or questions? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Move on to item number 9, considering the resolution to approve this easement vacation on West Cemetery Road. Any motion?
So
Second.
Roll call, please, Tom.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to item number 10, which is another public hearing. This one's regarding establishing an access and parking easement on city property. I'm going to open the public hearing. Shane again.
So this is the easement we talked about establishing. So it's basically, it's got two parts to it. It's parking easement and an access easement. There's a couple of exhibits attached to that, which will allow the Weisskopf advanced traffic to extend their parking in there while still maintaining access to the city parcel from the new West Cemetery Road street line.
No.
Cynthia, did we receive any public comments on this?
No.
Anyone present this evening that'd like to make a comment? Council, any questions or discussion? Just an FYI, both of these easements have been discussed with the impacted property owners, so.
What's,
Sure.
sorry, this is number 11, right?
10,
Goes with what again?
10, 11, 10. Yeah.
we don't close this hearing yet.
I know what they are, but what are the full words? Like,
What are they for?
yeah,
So it's on city property. It will allow the advanced traffic currently to park on the city property within that easement. So there's a parking easement, and then the subway portion is an access easement, so they can use that, for, moving vehicles in and out. The city can use it to access the city parcel, but they cannot use that parking access portion of that.
For the bullards, define the area, they can pull up to them, right? He asked what the bullards were.
Along with the bollards, I'm sorry, yeah, the bollards gonna basically define the line between the city property, and the parking lot that they can extend to, so it'll define that. And it'll help establish that line, and it'll help identify their parking stalls.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
A lot of these parameters were negotiated between ProSource, Shane, the mayor, and property owner and myself. And these are the results of this negotiation.
Anything else? If not, we'll close the public hearing and move on to item number 11, which is considering the actual resolution to establish this access and parking easement. Need a motion, please? Second?
Second.
Roll call, everyone. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 12, discussion of possible motion. During invoice for the 2025 fireworks. Thank you. It's gonna talk about this.
You're not going to approve it? I was gonna add an extra zero.
So basically, it's the same company that have been purchasing the fireworks from for the last 10 years. And the people that we purchased them from helped us set them off, so. If you want 3 bids. I'm sorry, but.
There's no issues from them last year or the year before.
No. That's why we actually switched to this company. We had some issues with a couple of the other companies we used to get them from, so.
It's all about safety, isn't it, Spanky?
Safety first, Marianne.
Safety first.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in an army brief.
Motion to buy them.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Chief, are you on board for item number 13, discussion possible motion of a possible fire station project?
We received the letter from the architects, what their fees would be. Basically, I just need to know if that's something you want me to proceed with. And this is the only architect that got back to us on this project. We had one, as I told you about, they bailed out. I don't know if they weren't gonna make enough money on it or what, but they decided they didn't want to be a part of it, so this is what we have.
Did want to weigh in, Mr. Mayor, if that's all right. I did want to weigh in on a discussion with all of the new interest and development at the corridor with Cedar Rapids. I am concerned that some of these buildings, depending on who we get to develop out there, will go above our, is it 3 stories?
Yeah.
Is our limit? And so I'm anticipating that some of these vendors might go above 3 stories, which will require, correct me if I'm wrong, Chief, an aerial. At some point, we can contract with surrounding cities in the short term, but that would create a decision for what we want to do long term, if we want to just permanently rely on our neighbors to cover down if we need an aerial in the industrial sector that we're trying to develop, or that also is something that I'm wanted to ask your guidance on, because that directly affects this request. Because if we get an aerial, that kind of renders this project.
So what this does right now is, we talked before about how long this is gonna get us by for. So depending on what gets developed out there in all this new area, right now we have 2080 agreement with all of Lynn County. Benton County and Hemp County, that they all have aerials, ladder trucks, whatever you know, wanna call them. That they would bring out for mutual aid by request. It's just something to think about in the future, that if this industrial development is going to go with gangbusters and you're gonna have to start changing codes and doing this and that, that the future will be that eventually, I would think at some point, I won't be here, I'll be with Cynthia. And Mary Ann. But I think Dustin and I talked briefly about this and Shane, but the more I thought about it, the original discussion that we had about, is this gonna get you by for 10 years? It would probably take 10 years from now, by the time the development gets started. If you wanted to build a new fire station that was big enough to hold a ladder truck, it would take you 4 years to get a ladder truck, and it would probably take that long to build a station, so. It's just something that for the future, if that's a route to go, that there would be a lot of money needed in the future, depending on how much of the industrial park you want to have. And if you don't ever want to get an aerial ladder truck, you can always just have the agreement with Cedar Rapids that they'll come out, so that's always an option to save the buck.
Or two.
But anyway, because the ladder truck right now, today is $2.5 million, and it takes 4 years to build. In 5 years, it's probably gonna be $4 million, and who knows how long it's gonna take to build. So, but just something to think about for the future. We do kind of need the space now, and it would be nice to have it, if you don't want to spend the money,
Chief, a question.
then I won't waste my time.
So this, Chief, your proposed addition would hold a truck the size of a ladder truck? Yes or no?
No,
No, okay.
So there's two questions I think we need answered. One, do you want me to continue with Chief going down this route using this architect? With knowing the future needs? That's really the question.
Yes.
I would say yes, because they need the space now.
Okay,
And based on projections and the ability to have agreements with surrounding communities on using ladder trucks. I think this is a bridge to that now, like Spanky said, how fast that develops will kind of dictate. You know, what we do down the road, but I think it's a good. Bridge to where we eventually get to, and. Maybe it'll get cheaper empty lots down the road.
you never know.
For the Mike Sankett fire station.
So I heard a first and a second. You know, all in favor?
What?
Marianne proposed and
Mary Ann motion to proceed with,
Mike's expanded upon his second. All in favor, please?
I,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. Number 14. Looks, Chief wants to install a fire truck, please.
So Dustin wrote up some paperwork, I don't know if anybody has seen it, but basically, what, we just have the council's approval that yes, we're gonna sell this truck to Hazelton. For the set amount of $60,000, and they would take, possession of this when our new truck comes in. Or shortly there before the new truck comes in. And they just want that in writing, so we don't back out on them.
is 60 a fair amount? Could we possibly get 2.5 million for it?
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say maybe. Yeah, we purchased that truck for 160,000 23 years ago, 22 years ago. So getting 60,000, people say, you know, you could probably get 100, and I say, well, I could probably ask 100. But it's sold at 60. I know departments that are sitting on trucks, just a town not that far away has two of them for sale that are just sitting outside, so. I think we're pretty lucky to get what we got for it, to be honest with you. It's guaranteed, so we don't have to wait and set on it, and then if it doesn't sell, the new truck comes in, and then it's just sitting outside somewhere. I think it's a fair price myself.
I think it also commits them to buying it, and they also want,
And they bought our last truck too,
yeah, and the commitment from
Yeah.
us, and we're not gonna back out.
and they're really happy with the last one, so. When they heard this one was for sale, they called right away and.
Council, do you want a motion to accept this?
Second.
Roll call, please, ma'am.
I,
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, chief. He's still standing
It's rusty.
there.
Continue on, I'm not gonna donate to you,
Just checking on you, okay. Item number 15, discussion and possible motion concerning USA Days. We thought they would have a representative here tonight, they don't, but they've contacted Dustin. We have budgeted $5,000 for our donation this year. The agenda has not been finalized yet, so you don't have anything in front of you. We have the minutes of the initial meeting, if you want Cynthia to add that to the packet after the meeting, we just got it too late.
so we're just not taking any action, or we're just going here?
You could
I just-
motion to approve it, the 5,000, that's in the budget.
Was it 5 last year too?
Yes, it was. Yeah, I just thought, because of the significance of it, a memorialization of, because you already have approved the budget. And it's already a line item, it's within my spending authority. So it's just a matter of that, memorializing, asking council to memorialize the donation.
Up to you, council.
Donated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 16, discussion and possible motion concerning possible purchase of property from Fairfax State Savings Bank. Dustin?
So, the last time I presented terms, there's three parties involved. You've got the American Legion that I asked to come, and I also had a discussion with Patrick Slater. And I presented our terms. I pretty much let him know that the parking lots adjacent is not off the table. I told him that, as per your guidance, that we expect him to do any lot splitting. So now his move is just to have us buy it outright for what he paid for it, which is $150. As is. And after talking to some members of the Legion and stuff like that, I can work it out on our end. Some people, the Legion, trust us to not take their right of way away from them. So it might be just easier route to get it off our hands so we can ensure it's safe. Yes, there is a cost, but it'll be ours for whatever we want to use it. Whether it's library expansion or build another parking lot, I don't know, that's your prerogative, but. That's his current offer, and that's the easiest one for me, because I had originally invited them here. Because it just got too confusing, I kept getting new options thrown at me, and I said, look, you just need to come to council and help me solidify this agreement. And
I
so-
don't have a problem with buying it for 150 and buying the whole parcel is one thing, and then that way we are free to do whatever we want with it later. Whether that's just give them an easement or actually sell part of it, or. I mean. I think we're all kind of want to see the Legion succeed, but just.
So I'm asking for two things, if that's the route you want to go. One, to approve the $150,000 purchase, but I'm also requesting permission to draft a contract memorializing it. To be executed by me and Patrick.
And as far as like,
A purchase
Getting it.
agreement?
Yes, Or I can have it next council meeting, or if you wanna do a special, however you wanna do it.
It's all just one parcel right now.
Yes.
So we don't have to split it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Just buy it and we can figure out how we want to handle that later.
As far as like an appraisal, that's,
I suppose we could go down that route, but it's already been a fun 2 months trying to negotiate. It would just be easier to get it, purchase it, and it's, that's my opinion.
So question, 150 is coming from which budget?
We were pulling it from the library. You had a fund picked up for that, didn't you, Cynthia? You heard.
Right, the last time we discussed it, we, said the library had, their CD. That if it's gonna be used for their edition, that's the money that we were going to use.
What's the size of that lot? Like how many,
I have to pull that.
you know, off the top of your head?
Sorry.
Not the end of the world.
No, I can find, I'd have to go back and look under the GIS. I don't know.
It's not that.
It was in the I had the numbers in the actually I can pull it.
Probably a little pricey, but it is what it is, where it is, and. Without it, it doesn't really make sense to do.
The library expansion. You don't wanna do street parking.
well, because, I mean, realistically, with street parking. Other cities have done it.
Oh, you could, I just don't know if there's probably enough.
The size that they proposed last fall, which were kind of the amount of people it would take. I don't know if you could do it all with just street parking, though, could you? But street parking fill up all those people.
Not if we're using the SUDA standards or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Is your question, if you do the additional like they proposed,
Yeah.
would the street parking suffice the required
No.
spots? Oh.
That we don't need street parking to suffice for an addition of some.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be enough, you'd have to use that parking.
Street parking, we have to use some of this area for parking.
yeah.
Yeah, that would take care of not having to have street parking.
There are a couple of, a few library board members here. Would anyone like to comment while Dustin's looking at some information?
It's your money. I think 150 is fair. Let us know.
Yeah, well, it's kind of
Relatively
like
speaking.
what Mary Ann said, we've talked about this a long time, we definitely feel like the price and it's, but it's pieces that have to happen to move forward with the library expansion. I mean, the only other option, and this is what Dan was bringing up, was, if we came forward and asked you for and I don't even know the right term is, but like a variation to or deviation to the city code on, amount of parking spaces. And again, whether you approve that or not, the question is that what we would want to see? I mean, it's not ideal. The hope is, I think, and I think I heard it is that the Dustin, you would get Legion to step forward, maybe there might be some agreement there to help out a little bit with, with some of that as they're working for their parking lot also. That's
It makes it easier for me to negotiate, because right now I'm trying to do a three-way negotiation. It would just be easier to get the loss to where.
yeah. I mean, it kind of is what it is, and we do have the funds that, we intended for the library upgrade. Obviously, this is part of that effort. I mean, this is needed to prepare for that. There will be obviously more costs, because the lot is not up to standard and it's going to have to be upgraded, and that will be another cost that will come forward out of the little project, but that's got to be determined. So, but this is the first step. So.
And the lot size is 10,830.459 square feet.
I think that's all, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Bruce.
Sure.
Any other discussion, council? Would anyone like to make a motion to,
I think I had, Marianne, did you make the motion to proceed or no?
I will,
I thought you had.
I think I did, but.
Yeah.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I,
I was gonna say, there's one more.
Yeah.
I was saying,
he was thinking.
So just to clarify, council, so I understand my directions, obviously, 150,000 is approved for the project. So did you want me to present the purchase agreement next council meeting, or did you want me to execute the purchase agreement? Yeah, I'll have an attorney review it, of course, before I do anything.
What's the reason for having a purchase agreement and bringing it to council?
I prefer everything in writing. I'm not a big fan of handshakes. I just prefer to have a purchase agreement in place so that if,
Well, we probably should, if nothing else, just to address property taxes, who's paying. You know, at what point are we accepting property taxes and what point are they paying up to? Just some things like that, I would hope.
Sure.
Would get addressed.
Yeah.
So we don't buy it and then find out we have another 10 grand.
Yeah, that's right.
Or that it's liens
Lien,
are
right.
clear, yeah, things like that.
I just, as a general rule, just like we do resolutions, any agreement should be written down on behalf of the city. I think it protects us. That's just my take on it.
Your question was, do you want it to come back to council?
Yeah, no, just a clear direction. I can execute it this week, or I can bring it to council in May. The timing of it.
We don't need a special or anything, or just bring it
Does-
next meeting.
procedurally, doesn't council have to approve all contracts?
You would be pre-approving the contract if you waited that route, but if you want me to just bring it next meeting, that's what I'll do.
Council,
Fine with that. Bring it next meeting.
All right, cool. Thank you, council.
The library kids like Minecraft, just at the library had like a child rock breaking event. So we can say that old concrete pad of the apartment parking. I'm just throwing that out there. Thought.
okay. Moving on to item number 17, discussion possible motion concerning the QTS laydown area located in Iowa land and building property within Fairfax city limits. We have, looks like we have a QTS representative that's gonna kick us off, and we've got Dustin and Shane and possibly Scott, so
Corrections.
go ahead.
Appreciate everybody. Thank you. My name is Chris Kraskis. I'm with White Slayton and I represent QTS and White Slayton GC that's proposing this laydown area here for parking, and some trailers to go in their office trailers. This will be occupied for about till the end of 2026 right now. We have investigated, looked at, it's not a floodplain. It's actually, it's not a floodplain, but it has 100 to 500 year moratorium for floods, right? So we're within that range, so we'll mitigate that area to ensure that we're not, we meet the erosion control with SWIP, with, anything that would inhibit us or propose any kind of, issue within the waterway or within that tree line right there. But we will have SIP in place. It would be asphalt all the way across. We would strip that topsoil off there, stockpile that. We would maintain that. We would keep that, return the entire area back to original condition, once we're done with that area. We'll maintain the road out front of that as well. And that area from that tree line to the east is Cedar Rapids, from the tree line to the west is Fairfax. We have an agreement in place with Cedar Rapids right now, going back to the east for maintaining that road. We'd like to do the same with Fairfax going back to the west.
Can you tell me where that's at? I mean, in relation to 76, can you maybe?
It is just west of Tissel.
This is all road.
Yep. Correct.
It's a very easterly portion of the city's. The city's property limits, so it abuts up to the city, Cedar Rapids.
So
Yeah.
this is all in,
That preliminary plat that we just did last fall, this is the far east side of that preliminary plat.
So this is all in Fairfax, right?
All in
Not,
Fairfax,
yeah,
yes.
none of it's in Cedar Rapids.
The east, where the red line is to the east of that, to the right, where that ledger is, that's Cedar Rapids, and then the parking lot, correct, that's Fairfax. That parking area.
so everything to the, that is there to build the data center for
Correct.
which one? I don't know if it's
For QTS.
For QTS.
Correct.
So it's on Thistle Hollow, right at that.
Yeah, it's like west of just all.
So this would be to the east of Region, am I correct on that?
Southeast.
Southeast of Region?
So it's in our farthest southeast corner.
It's like that lot 8, right? Correct. Or whatever.
And then after you do all your stuff, you're gonna leave this, or you're gonna tear it out?
We'll tear it all out, put it back to original condition.
So I just want, I know that this is not a permanent settlement. But I do, and I know that other staff members have their own guidance, and I'm not here to argue with either way. Just want to make sure that, we balance in a way, the short-term gain versus the long-term gain. Because, QTS has been a good partner so far. Now, Chris's recommendation to us is,
Our Chris, not this. one.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, Chris is, now we are a little leery because, we are also wondering what is QTS proposing that the city will get in return for us if council were to allow you and your client to follow through with this plan. Some suggestions that have come my way is roads, helping us with, because the traffic has been tearing up a lot of those roads, in that area.
Yeah.
And so,
So we're looking to help out with that.
okay, that's some of.
We'll do road improvements in that area. We understand the magnitude of the trucks coming through. And we understand the issues it can cause. So we want to mitigate that from the beginning.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
there may be a misunderstanding between that too. It's not just maintaining the road, but I think where Chris is coming from, it's improving it to an urban section.
Right.
Rural section. So it's a commitment to what's done there after this is removed. So I think clarity on what that expectation is between all parties needs to be clear, not just, we're gonna do that, because then they're thinking you're gonna do something. We're not on the same page. So that's unclear. Has this been coordinated with the county? Part of that is county road too.
With Lynn County,
Yes,
yes. We have been in discussion with Lynn County over this.
I think the city of Fairfax should be involved in that too, so they know.
Because technically, we own half of that road and they own the other half, so whatever we agree to, we have to
Yes.
agree to something.
And we need to see a SWIFT. We need to, there's no stormwater management.
Since say stormwater,
The
sanitary
rain
sewer,
that we had
water.
last week would destroy that creek off of 50.
Say that again.
The storm that we had last week. 55 acres of asphalt would just destroy that creek. Who's gonna clean up that mess? Who's gonna deal with those issues? There's no stormwater management. And this is just a concept plan.
Right.
So these things aren't addressed. Where's the stockpile going? Are those being addressed? The other question I have is. My understanding, there's multiple sites on the QPS. So is this the end of 26 just one site? Or is it the entire QPS site? Could this be extended? Are you gonna come back in 12 months, but we need to extend it another 2 years? Or are you gonna stop and then come back 3 years from now and then wanna do it again? There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Sure, and we welcome those questions for sure. I think to that point, once we get done with that canvas and that area done, we will return that and then move back to the east further. And UTF an area farther to the east in Cedar Rapids that we would then shift over there.
Once these questions are addressed, are you willing to put this in writing into an agreement?
Absolutely.
That we can uphold
100%.
your end of the bargain?
But I think from what you're saying, you have a page and a half or 2 pages of questions. And Chris isn't here tonight, that could speak to his department, but
I talked to Chris today, and what he stated to me exactly was that he does not recommend approval at this time. And he's certainly concerned about getting street participation as one of the major things, commitments from them, so.
But I would also say not close it out. I would just say that this is just my input with Chris's recommendations, and Shane, are you able to address their concerns?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm open to it, but to the same point, I'd want to see an actual, plan in terms of participation with the road, both maintenance and participation in developing it. Urbanizing, is that the term I think we used?
Is there
And then-
any chance in the future that you would leave, that they would choose to leave this parking lot in place?
If that was a request. We wouldn't put it back to original condition, as our typical practice.
It just seems like a pretty good expense and a nice parking lot for them just to tear it up.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking, is that something that they would come back with?
Yeah, no, we would excavate it out there and put it back to normal condition.
Are you just leasing the ground from Iowa Land, or are you
Correct.
purchasing it?
Releasing it.
So Iowa Land would have to be involved in the agreement.
Yes, correct.
Is it just parking and staging, or is there like job trailers and stuff there too?
Job trailers and parking, that's it.
So is it all just Porta John and stuff out there?
That's it, yeah.
So you anticipate roughly 2,300 vehicles are going out of there every day?
At the peak, it'll be around that. But that's over a period of, right, you have your man curve that comes with that. We'll start ramping up, that'll taper off after a few months, then you start your downhill slide for your free resources coming and offside.
so Chris, to your point, and Dustin, your point, the tear up of the road, maintaining that as it goes, and then some participation afterwards needs some pretty big.
I think step one is, are they gonna help with the maintenance of the road as it is right now? Cause I talked at the beginning of the meeting, the shit's getting torn up. And I think we all know that, and anybody that goes out there side by side or whatever has seen that, and I'm not joking when I say some signs about weight limits on some of those bridges have been conveniently taken down. But I think it'd be 2 pieces. Number one, the maintenance of the road as is right now, and then the participation in developing it after the fact. Cause, I mean, we all know, I don't need to repeat it, but 2,000 vehicles coming out there every day is gonna rip that up. I mean, we already know how much it gets. The heaving from frost and thaw and just the small amount of usage there is normally. For those that are like adventure and go from Prairie, from Edgewood to Lefferville on that road. But now when you're taking these box culverts that you see turning right here, it's gonna get ripped up pretty good. So, and if they're fine helping maintain that, then, and getting Lynn County involved and everybody being on the same page, yeah, I'm open to it, but.
We would maintain that.
Yeah.
Make it 100%. And as for the trucks coming through this way, I will address that.
Yeah,
Because
cause they
we
come
can
down.
come from the Cedar Rapids side.
It used to be over here off Edgewood and then down 76 that way.
Yeah,
Now they're coming down to 80th. They come down through Williams here and they turn down by Southview by Bernie's place, and then they do one of 2 things. They go down Southview, if you know where that is.
yeah.
Or they take and go around 76, the curve, because it sells their live on the corner there, Dave, and go around there and then go across Lefferville and down that way. And I don't have an exact list, but I talked to Chris, but some of that shit's getting ripped up pretty good. So. And we're not even into like, I mean, you're talking about the bell curve of manpower, we're still like down here, we haven't even gotten to this.
Yeah.
We're not even on a sharp uptick.
Well, I have a proposal, council, if you're willing. Allow me and Shane and Chris to work with them to build up an agreement that I can have before May. And we'll hammer out all the particulars, including what we agree on is a good your contribution to help us, and I'll engage on the stakeholder.
Yeah, we want to partner with Fairfax, right? I mean, we're one team. Right? And we want to make sure that any kind of excess traffic and, you know, and it's going to be abundant, right? We're aware of that. What can we do to mitigate that? What can we do to ensure public safety priority? And then what can we do to ensure that Fairfax is succeeding in this, and we're adding value to the city of Fairfax? You know, so that's a main goal for us. We're not just here to build data centers, we're here to build communities, build relationships, and ensure the safety of the public. So.
How does that work tax wise? If they're leasing this property, do they make that improvement to that property? Does that affect their taxes at all?
I wouldn't
Taxes?
think work, parking spot and work trailers add much value. I mean, probably some, but
That parking area for that,
that's a question for Lynn County Assessor, I guess.
I mean, that's.
And
a
it would
lot of money.
affect Iowa land and buildings tax.
That's why I'm asking if they're gonna leave it or they're gonna tear it out, because that we're talking, they're spending a lot of money.
Yeah, we were,
But
yeah. And it's, unfortunately, this is pretty typical.
Okay.
For these trailer complexes, you know, trailer city as we call them. You know, you have that compound built in and we come in, lay the asphalt, we get everything stabilized to make it an actual city, like not city, but, you know, a small village, if you will. That we can utilize. You guys are more welcome to come out and visit. You know, I mean, I welcome you. You know, to have that visibility, to have that relationship, you know, we would love to have that, you know, opportunity to show you guys what we're accomplishing here.
So Dustin, I'll ask both of you, would there be an actual preliminary site plan that would show water runoff considerations, lighting considerations, buffering considerations, those types of things?
We do have temp lighting in that already solidified. We have, that, we have water run, we do have the SWIP that you were talking about. That as well, along with erosion control. You know, we have all that stuff already, that we can obviously give you the documents for that. We give you the evaluation of that.
Is May realistic?
Big quick turnaround.
Yeah, that's a big chunk to chew off here.
Well, at least provide an update to at least get the process rolling. Like I said, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff, so I'd be relying on Shane and Chris. And their guidance, as well as Cynthia and everybody else, to make sure that we're satisfied. So I cross all those T's and dot all those I's with them before I present any finalized agreement.
They can always request a special if needed.
What's that?
They can always request a special at some point.
Yes, they could, if that's something y'all wanna do.
And I think you might already have a special in May with the bond, schedules.
Probably right, but we do.
Yeah, so I thought.
It'd be 720s.
Yeah.
So council, are you providing guidance to Dustin at this point without making any motions, or what is your preference here?
My opinion is with you two and with Chris. Following your lead and then dig into it and make sure it's right and bring something back to council, it's my opinion, so yeah. My opinion, that motion go forward with.
Go forward in what way? Authorize Dustin to,
I look at the page and a half that Shane sent out, or 2 pages, whatever it is, with all the questions, there's a lot there to see if it's even possible. To meet the request of,
Do you actually want to make a motion, or you just want to direct staff to
yeah, that's not.
get it ready for presentation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Read the line 17.
direct staff?
Direct staff to continue forward, I mean.
Yeah.
Is that everyone's guidance to me then?
Yes, sounds
Yes.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I saw the sheriff's deputy. We're gonna insert you here. If you want to step up at the podium and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Ben Helms, but I don't really do these things, but we met all your hours. Whatever you guys wanna know, just let me know.
Do we have any questions for the deputy? Okay. Thank you very much.
I did. Oh, before you leave, Deputy Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
just wanted to say thanks to the Sheriff's Department. I was really impressed with their professionalism when I went out to the apartment site on Friday.
I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item number 18. There's a lot involved in this resolution. It includes filing plans, specifications of forming contract and advertising for bids, setting a public hearing date, which will be May 13th, and receiving and opening bids, all related to the West Cemetery Road realignment and reconstruction project. There's John to
Yeah.
share some information here.
Time has come. You guys flip through all of the 400 pages. There's plans, right? So yeah, just, it's basically kickoff here. File plans, specs, cost opinion, you set public hearing date for May 13th. May council meeting, receive bids on May 21st. The latest cost opinion is at 1.89 million. Again, this is just the intersections and all the utility improvements. Just run through the proposed construction schedule here too. We got an early start date of construction set for July 7th, late start date August 4th, final completion of May 29th of next year. So to hit that, that'll, coincide with when the bridge contractor needs to roll in, hopefully next spring, and get rolling on the second phase. We did establish a milestone in that contract, May 1st of next year, which is essentially have the West Cemetery and Stallman intersection fully reopened to traffic by then. Because there will be a detour route down 151 in Old Stallman as we start cutting into existing West Cemetery Road. So getting that intersection reopened in a timely manner. You recall we'll have a temporary bypass route to get around that intersection in the northeast corner of the Nips property. The other thing is the staging and laydown area as part of the milestone. It'll be shared or transferred to the bridge contractor when he moves in. So having this contractor keep that in a tidy condition, all prepped and ready to go for the bridge contractor next year. It was all contained within that milestone date of May 1st. Any questions?
One question that the citizens adds up in that area, west of there, is there access to 151 from that development? Or they gotta go way out around the Angle Road or?
There'll be access, so you're saying everything west of the bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be able to get out around through Stallman.
Okay.
So if we're gonna build, like I said, a temporary bypass route, just gravel through the northeast corner of the Nims property, which is just the property southwest of the Stallman intersection right there. So all the work in the intersection, because there'll be water main coming through there, sanitary sewer, obviously the roadway improvements too, so. There'll be, yeah, because what is that shading again? We send them all the way out of town, like 7 miles out of the way.
7 or 8 miles out of the way.
So,
It's the John, yeah.
Except for you, you'll have to go all the way around everybody else.
There'll be access to the highway, it'll just be down Stallman Road by Dollar General there. We're gonna widen that intersection with Stallman and the highway just a little bit. Make it a little bit better. We're gonna add about 2 to 3 feet on the west side of Stallman. Just some gravel to make it a little bit wider, because obviously more traffic coming that way.
yeah,
Yeah, I was concerned of others, yeah, they wanna make sure that there's. Not gonna go way out of the way to access that. So,
and that won't happen until, I don't know, what, second or third stage, once we actually have to start cutting utilities and everything into West Cemetery Road and the east side of the bridge, then we gotta close the road down. the little bypass will be built, the detour will be established, so. It won't be right away, when they get out there, they'll be able to get through the first few phases without getting into West Cemetery and the bridge, so. Yeah, as part of that Stallman detour, we're gonna line it out a little bit to the west, around the shoulder. So. 3-inch feet. And that'll stay in place when everything's all said and done, and fresh seal coat applied to the top of Stallman.
You have to mess with some of the approaches, driveway approaches probably.
Yeah. Yeah, so. We're also, well, the DOT is looking at it right now, but going to widen out the Stallman intersection where it's 151. It's obviously very narrow. Vehicles cut that corner, so we're hoping that can be left in place permanently, but whether will the DOT response on that, so. Just beefing up also essentially to take on that traffic, so. And also access is gonna be maintained going north on the Eagle View. During some of those phases, it'll be coned off as one way. The big yield condition, so cars can get north. Yeah, we have a very intricate stage and traffic control plan. That we're going to try and stick to.
John, could you clarify a couple of dates? The public hearing will be on May 13th, our regular council meeting. The bid opening will be on May 21st, which will be after the public hearing. When will the bids be opened?
The special is at the 22nd is when we were shooting.
Awarding the bids,
Yeah.
made the special.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we have incentive, disincentive, and then liquidated damages if they exceed their dates.
Yep, incentive disincentive on that May 1st milestone and $1,500 day LBs for the completion date. Because obviously they don't get it done in time, and that impacts the schedule for the bridge contractor. So. And just obviously inconvenience with traffic flow and everything else, so.
Any concerns with just this whole project, this part of it, from starting until first part of May? You know, flags that you guys have, I mean, there's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on, I mean, just like anything else, I mean, part of it'll be a headache for traffic, but just like anything else, they'll get used to it. You know, the traffic control is a big thing, and, just keeping on top of them, keep that stuff in place, keep it clear and concise, and
For the
residents
residential,
get used to it and find where, and so. Yep,
for the businesses and residential,
yeah, we'll have signs placed, we're gonna put signs even before. They start kind of restricting, you know, some of that to one lane going north, we're gonna put signs out right away that just says all the businesses on the Eagle View Drive are open, because you might get some people in there that aren't familiar, like Diamond Sports, I'm sure, you know. They might pull in there, see some cones, and but there will be a one-way route through there, but, and then as part of the detour too. We'll have a stage in there directing traffic from both directions on 151, how to go about going northbound on Eagle View to get to the businesses. So I think our staging and traffic control plan alone is over 30 pages itself, so trying to cover all of our bases.
all those businesses north of their dugout, they're aware of what's going on and the changes that are, or once this hits, then they'll be.
I believe so, and I think the plan that we've discussed sending others out. Before things get rolling, there will be, before they close West Cemetery. There'll be a temporary, you know, a dynamic message sign set up 7 days in advance. out there in front by 151 saying West Cemetery is gonna be closed on such and such. So there'll be at least be a 7-day notice before traffic movement starts having to get changed around going north.
So a letter, for example, may be sent out before 7 days on any
Yeah,
dugouts
just a
for
notice.
for
We just want
example.
the city to send out a notification. to
Yeah,
them.
saying
Yeah.
there's gonna be traffic impacts and, you know.
So they can
But-
give time to contact whoever,
Yeah.
the city or you guys, hey, what's going on, and maybe details, so
Yeah.
they can make adjustments if they need to. You know,
Yes.
I mean, it's gonna look ugly, but we just gotta say, go an extra 200 feet and take a right on Stallman.
Yeah,
And you're still gonna end up at your same destination.
and you'll get confused drivers right off the bat, but, you know, between the contractor and myself or whoever's out there, I mean, they, when free to go.
Does West Cemetery stay closed until the bridge is in place?
Yes,
That's what that.
so that detour will be in place through the winter. You know, hopefully they can get the, you know, get the intersection, Stallman intersection reopened. Before the asphalt plants close in November. But if it needs to be that temporary bypass route through this property, we have to stay in place over winter.
No, I mean, part of the scope, are they ripping up the old West Cemetery east of the bridge?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it'll be open until the new bridge is in
Yeah,
place, right?
well, there's water main that's gotta cross, there's storm sewer coming down through there. That all sets up for the overall project. And we're gonna, this contract take care of that, so. One thing to be aware of too, you know, obviously this is, I should say somewhat independent of the federally funded bridge project, but because it fell under the same NEPA umbrella, the environmental umbrella with the bridge project, and we had to review it all together. We do have to follow Buy America, Build America.
I was gonna ask, why is that? That was part
That
of the
was-
reason why we separated the projects. to
So
begin
it
with.
has to do with how they review these. It got classified as it was above a programmatic categorical exclusion in terms of their environmental review. And once it gets above that level, then all of it has to follow Buy America. We don't have to follow like the prevailing wages and that stuff. The bridge project will. But just the Buy America stuff, which Calvin to me at this point, but materials a little cheaper than included stuff. I don't know.
I was gonna say, I thought that's why we separated them, so we didn't have to.
No, that was the one catch. So, but we'll be able to bid it out on our own. Bid opening will be here, and we'll be bid through the DOT. As far as construction observations and inspection procedures, it'll be our own procedures. Other than make sure the materials service for the Buy America, Build America are compliant. You know, this portion won't have to go through a DOT audit at the end. There's no federal funds in there. So,
Then how long is the bridge installation take after this project? So
so
First of
Origin,
June next year.
Origin thinks, you know, safely up to 6 months.
5 to 6 months.
So I think that's from start to finish. I mean, the bridge structure itself shouldn't take that long, but there's a lot of, you know, other site improvement work to go along with that, so. So we could be out till, you know, November, December of 26.
yeah,
So that's what the milestone is, May 1, 2026 milestone. Is the bridge contractor shows up, removes the bridge. And then this contractor
Yeah.
finished doing the water main along, because that's going right underneath where the bridge, existing bridge is.
Yeah,
So then this contractor will finish up the water main and be done. So they're, yeah, the bridge contract will basically be on site through the beginning of the construction season.
so we'll be a little bit overlap.
Yeah.
The contract times, but
so tentatively the end of 26.
Yeah.
Done, tentatively.
yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, so the reroute will be open for a year and a half. Give or take a couple months.
So we have it in there, it's in the bridge project, for Stallman to get a fresh seal coat and, you know, it's one of those things, we'll see how it looks at the end and, you know, we ran it out of South, you remember, when we did all the water main and sewer work and we had to.
Core it out,
touch that up. We did some little bit of asphalt patching and then put the Band-Aid over the top of everything and seal coat. So.
I think we cored out a good chunk of it too, didn't we?
On the east end, and that was more with, we set that up when they did the overlap on the year, put a new asphalt wedge approach, you know. So.
Any other questions for John? Hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to consider this resolution.
Motion. Second.
Roll call, please, Marion. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next three items, 19, 20, and 21, are all relating to purchase agreements for three impacted property owners along these project areas on West Cemetery. We're gonna talk about that. Dustin or Shane?
Well, I think we both can, but first I want to thank Shane for helping me. He walked me through a lot of these. These are a little more challenging than your average resolution writing because of all the property involved. So Troy and Shane helped out a lot in making sure I get them right. But we got it done. This is actually the purchase agreement along with all of the easements and temporary construction stuff is all included that was given to me by Troy as a result of all of our negotiations with all the property owners. So these next three is just a request to approve the remaining purchase agreements. They've been reviewed by attorneys. A lot of back and forth between Shane, Troy, and I to make sure they're right.
So these are the only remaining or the only three,
Yeah, the first one you approved, we were a little concerned at first because the attorney gave us some feedback where we had to change a couple of minor tweaks. But when I talked to Randy Scholler last week, he said it wasn't significant enough to bring the NIMS one back to the table. We are still trying to we're still trying to close out and we've had some issues with the mortgage company, but outside of that, it's been very smooth. But Scholler said he didn't think I needed to bring it back, so I didn't.
And the original Connor agreement, change in the details of the plans, avoided the need for that agreement, so there's no purchase agreement necessary there. Not in.
I'll make a motion to approve, the purchase agreement.
In a second,
Second.
roll call, please, Tom.
Aye.
Thank you. Need a motion for a purchase agreement for Ron Hilton and Joyce Sandra.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please, Ryan.
Aye.
Thank you. And the final one is for Vicky Weiss LLC.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call, please, Tom.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 22, considering a resolution to establish a right of way for West Cemetery Road.
This is just a right of way, something additional that we needed to get for the West Cemetery Road project.
It's establishing it on city property.
Yes.
Property already owned by the city.
Yeah, that's a requirement, the city property. Since the roadway will be running through that portion of it. City needs to formally establish it as public road.
Second.
Roll call please, Randy.
I,
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 23, concerning a resolution for PIG application number 1 from municipal pipe pool sanitary sewer rehab line. We have some exhibits here that Brian. It looks like gerbils should.
It was not a series of pieces.
So, yeah, it's just, yeah.
Previously slice.
I've seen it.
So yeah, this pay app is just essentially the lining of the mains. That got cleared a few weeks ago. Contractor sent me the post lining videos that they were required to record last week, and they looked great. I got a hold of them yesterday. We've been trying to pin down when that subcontractor is gonna roll in and line individual service lateral connections. 2 weeks from today, April 22nd. And that'll take a day or two to wrap up and then it should be done. So yeah, I recommend approval of the application with questions.
Was there one change to this?
No, there was, remember we accepted those alternate bid items? And the prices came in so low, so we got to add on 2 additional pipes.
That's right, that's something. Okay.
Or it was the early start.
Oh, yeah, we did that.
That would have been the only.
We did, we did all the work to get the.
I think we added
And I was about to show up the week after that, install them very extremely.
Almost.
Nick, give her the highlight.
Second.
Roll call, just raise your hand, Randy.
Aye.
Aye.
Dan?
I said it.
Okay, didn't hear that. Thank you. All right, item number 24. Ordinance amending, the rates for collection of solid waste. Cynthia?
This is what we discussed at budget time, because Republic is increasing their fees as of July 1. This would set up to be effective June 20th, so it's on that bill that we send out the end of June.
Like a motion for the first reading. Second.
We want to wait for Marianne to return.
Sure,
We should.
might have a problem with the rates, we don't know.
Cynthia, do you want to remind us of the impact of this rate change? Republic went up by how much? It was our contractual increase.
Right.
And like 3.5% or 5% a year or something like that.
Well, they just had the amount, so, last July 1, they went up to 2066. July of 25, they're going up to $22, an increase of $1.34 on their part. We currently charge $22.75, and we're proposing to go to $24.25. $1.50, so Republic's going up $1.34. We're suggesting that we up ours $1.50. If you remember, we discussed that every year general is transferring about 20,000 into the garbage to cover the shortage. So that 16 cents will help a little bit. We've always had a little bit of gap. I think we were upping it. Hang on a minute.
That includes the quarter for the glass.
Yeah, yeah. So we were upping it a little bit to round it up to the 24.25. But I would anticipate that we'll still need to transfer from the general a little bit, but we'll tackle that when we see actual revenue and expenses.
Motion and second.
Wait a minute, I'm working a second, so we're ready for a roll call.
We were waiting for you.
Yeah, I was happy to log in the
Hands up.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Thank you, that's our first reading. You want to consider a motion to suspend the rules required in ordinance, be voted on for additional passages?
So moved.
Okay. Roll call, please, Tom.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You want to consider a motion for final passage and adoption this evening?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please, Marianne. Aye.
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 Thank you. Moving on to item number 25,
So
amendment to the International Mechanics Code.
the state for a while has had an electrical code that the state adopted. And then for several years, and then at some point they adopted a plumbing one. Now they've just recently adopted a mechanical code. And so Chris has revised our ordinance to reflect that there is now a state code, like we did for the electrical and the plumbing. And he is recommending you waive the readings and do it because the state code is already in place.
Consider a motion to adopt this ordinance.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please, Marianne.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I vote yes for everything while I go back.
Okay, so consider a motion to suspend the rules requiring additional.
So.
Council names, okay?
Second.
Aye.
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 You said aye, okay, thank you. Consider a motion for final passage and adoption this evening.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call,
Aye. Aye.
thank you. Tom, did I hear my name?
Yes, you
Thank you.
I did an email earlier today, said the state adopted the 23 electric code, so we're on par with the state now.
Okay. Moving on to item number 26. We are considering a resolution to simply to set a public hearing date for the 28th annexation agreement with the city of Cedar Rapids. That public hearing date would be May 13th. This has been a long time coming. And the 13th, we'll have a public hearing.
A lot of back and forth between Cedar Rapids and I, between Shane overlooking it and I. I'm pretty happy that we've got this before you. And I did have Shane look over our maps, Tom, in response to your email today, and with the small changes we made, the current map that we have is good.
Yeah, cause I asked to have it that March 2001 put on there, so we know what the changes. We have a comparison between what it was and I mainly wanted to see south industrial area because that's potential gold in the future for Fairfax and where that's at, but and that dotted line in area B ends Wright Boulevard, and then south of that is open game, so it ends. It doesn't go across to Webb Brothers. So that's been removed, and that's probably part of the discussion that I understand going north.
Can you pull up the map on there? I wanted to mention something that I had maybe not mentioned in the past or
The old one or
the proposed one. I know what the. Yep, that one. You zoom in on.
Yep.
This is something I want the council to consider.
Whoops.
A little bit more. And then you can scroll down. It's just in the area where area A is. And so, and what I'm bringing up tonight is Joanne was on the council, and I'll see if she remembers, Cynthia was here, Mary Ann was here. And I was new. And you might remember along Beverly. Where, what is that, Tarpey and Julie. They came to us and.
Up north, you're talking
Yes,
about.
up north here, I'll point it to, for those that are not familiar with the area. So it's basically over here, so this is Beverly, you know, these are a lot of the homes here, and then here's Tarpey, I think that's Julie, and then here's West Post Road right here. Cause then this is, I think already Cedar Rapids, that's Everlou, and then you have like, what is it, Hillcrest or Hillview and all that crap down there. These people right up here came to us a long time ago. And wanted to be within our, and I don't know if you remember that, wanted to be within the city of Fairfax. Voluntary annex. They wanted to be annexed in, and at the time. They didn't want any of our services, didn't want to pay any of the taxes, but they wanted all of the benefits, and we told them no. But now that this 28E agreement, I've been. Reached out to a couple people who've talked to me from that area, as well as the one over by Sunset and everything, just to the left of Area A and north of our boundary. And they sure as hell don't want to be in Cedar Rapids, they want to be in Fairfax. Now, I told them that this is just a 28E agreement, it's not guaranteed that they're gonna get annexed in. But they should want to be on our side of the line. So I know we're just setting a public hearing tonight. But I didn't know your guys' feedback or initial reaction to wanting to try and add those. I know we've been focused on the southern portion. And I know there's smart planning in whether or not you're gonna extend utilities or maintain a status quo or anything like that. But I've received a lot of feedback from them, and I don't know if your parents live over there or not, but a lot of people are not happy that they might be on the Cedar Rapids side when the dust settles, so I didn't know how interested.
I'm assuming a lot of these boundaries are kind of drawn up with smart planning with drainage basins, more or less. They are. So the ones that Mike referenced first is sewer, Cedar Rapids already has sewer water there. So we'd have to cross, there's a good also Cedar Rapids sewer service and then put it in the lift station to do it.
And that's in between Everlou though, right? That's what you're talking about, or where?
That first one that's basically on the south corner of 30 and Williams Boulevard, Highway 151. Right where the, yeah, that
West Coast?
Cedar Rapids has water to that southeast corner, and then the sewer comes up the creek between Fairfax and Cedar Rapids there. We'd have to extend sewer across Cedar Rapids sewer to get there. So we'd be spending a lot of money to get sewer to acre lots, which would be a lot of money. That's the end lift station to service them, so it just doesn't.
I'm not suggesting we go to Everlou, is that what you're kind of referencing? Like, cause I know they did the installation there. Kind of north of where, was it Boca Bradsky, right? Or Prohaska and Dwight Hughes are, I know they did. Sewer and utilities there, to kind of force those people when they sell to hook on. But I didn't know, cause we have, basically where the red goes, we have utilities run up to there. Right, and we'd have to go down Beverly if we ever decided to have them hook on.
And where that creek is on the northeast side, Cedar Rapids has a sewer line. Very important.
And I'll just interject here. Your agenda did not say you're gonna discuss.
No,
this.
just a public hearing again.
Yeah, you're
We're just saying
setting a
public
public
hearing.
hearing. So you're having a dialogue that's not on the agenda, and residents have not been informed to be here to give input or to hear this.
Cease and desist. Sounds like
I did
maybe.
parentheses with, I know we're just
I
saying
know.
a public
I
hearing.
know you said that, but then you.
And then I went ahead and ignored it.
that is correct, we're just setting a public hearing. And
Bring it all up next month.
that's where public comments can be, and council comments can be contained on May 13th.
Okay. May 13th.
Just a side question though, Dustin, do we know when Cedar Rapids is having their public hearing on this topic?
Yes, I do. Jennifer Platt, once I went to City Hall and told Jeff I need to get this done. That worked wonders. Let me get her email and I'll get that information for you.
Just so that we know timing of all of everything.
Mhm. So this is an email I got on April 3rd. Says, we plan to have the motion setting on the public hearing on April 22nd council meeting. And the public hearing will be on May 26th.
Okay, thank you. Duly noted, so need a motion to set our public hearing date for May 13th.
So moved. I'll read it to him.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call please. I'm sorry.
Aye. 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 Aye.
Thank you. Never do. Moving on to item number 27, another setting the public hearing date only. This one is for
Thank you for that clarification.
enter into a general obligation loan agreement and to borrow the money. May 13th is the proposed public hearing date. That's all we're doing is setting the date.
So moved.
Need a second? Okay, roll call, please, Tom.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right, item number 28, discussion on possible motion concerning citywide cleanup day.
Tell you the truth, I couldn't remember if we've already discussed it, and if not, if we have, I just want to remind you, and if not, make you aware. We're planning on having our regular citywide disposal day on Saturday, June 21st. Joanne gave me, I'm gonna add to the flyer about that we don't go in the houses to carry things out. Just making sure it's still okay with everybody, and we've already contacted the hauler, and that's all right, but anybody have any problems with it?
Bring all the items my wife brings home from the garage sales and take it over here.
Really, when we started this, that's why we always made it after the garage sale.
Right. Where did that go?
So just need a motion to approve that we're doing this on June 21st.
Motion.
Second. Anyone?
Second.
All in favor, please. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
I can't hear you.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, number 29. We have been working on Lynn County's multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan update. We have a committee that met last year and then provided input into the changes. We're finally to the point of adopting it. That should be in your packet. Any questions?
And this is,
Department heads were all on the committee.
and this is a process Lynn County has to go through. They have to have all the jurisdictions approved the plan so that they can use the plan then to get mitigation money or grant money in planned projects.
Any questions?
Motion. Second.
Roll call please, Marianne.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 30. A resolution approving some changes to employee compensation, Cynthia.
Leif got his sewer, grade 1, and then the other ones are, part-time seasonal park employees. The highlighted ones are the new or changed lines.
Motion to approve updated employee compensation.
Motion. Second.
Roll call please. Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Item number 31, resolution to approve revised local procedure for agenda and meetings. We've gone through this a couple of meetings. Dustin's shared information. Dustin, you want to talk about this?
Yep, as per your guidance, I did hash it over with Randy Scholler. And Randy gave me some changes and the mayor also gave me some changes. So I did our normal format of January 25th, 25, which is the last version I left you before. And then I gave you the copy of the one that Randy Scholler and the mayor looked over. I split 9 and 10 because trying to accomplish everything within one statement just seemed more trouble than it was worth. So I thought this was a better way of expressing it, and so there's a comparison document.
What'd you think?
I'm okay with it, the fact that when we talk about it, to have a council member that have some sort of say with what goes on, not so much takes off, because that's done at the beginning of every council meeting. But in this case, there's 2. And to me, it's just the fact of council having some sort of input on what goes on, and
So you're happy with item 10, basically?
2 is okay. The fact that there's something on there is fine for me. I don't know about you guys, but I'm okay with that.
Have 2 members.
2 members.
Yeah, I like that just in case for some future council, you have to move road guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Any other comments or?
lady.
No, what he's saying is a woman would never.
Be road.
Road. It would just be ornery guys, it'd never be Mary Ann.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Thank you. Item number 32, discussion of possible motion concerning security cameras. Joe, this is yours?
Right, so if you saw the Facebook post last week, we had some more vandalism at the complex bathroom over the weekend. And we had a little bit of vandalism in Hawks Ridge too. Hawks Ridge wasn't, it took about 5 minutes to clean it up, that's really all it was. The complex though was a mess. And whoever is doing that vandalism, without getting into any gory details, whoever's doing that vandalism has got, there's something wrong. And so the only way, I think, at this point now for us to, I don't know if to catch them or to do something, but at least to let them know that we can watch them. And I think we've got to put some cameras out there. The two camera systems that I've gotten for you here are really kind of the spectrum. So the first one you're seeing up there right now is from Absolute Security, who does our security here in town. And it's about $5,000, and that includes just the complex, and it's a camera, it's a wide angle camera that would go into the breezeway where the restrooms are at, but then there's cameras on the outside of the complex as well, the building. And so they would have, they would be able to see everything that's going on around the building, and not into the bathrooms, but they could see people that are in that breezeway and when they go into a door. This system, I'm able to get it on my phone. I've got real-time alerts. If there's something going on at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd get an alert and be able to watch it. It's downloaded onto my phone. There's a video of it. We have to get just a little bit more equipment. It does require Wi-Fi, but we have the hotspots that we use now for the concession stands for our credit card machine. We need an upgrade one so that we can put an Ethernet on it, and that's what would allow me to be able to watch it on my phone and to tape it and have some backup, not backup, I guess, but they have some video that I could go back and review. I don't have to do it every single day, but I could go back and review it. But it's about $5,000 for that system. That includes a 27-inch monitor that would also go into, probably be put into the concession stand. It's about $100 for a camera, if we wanna put a camera in the concession stand, keep an eye on the people that are working in there, I don't know that that's necessary, I'm really just concerned about what's going on in the restrooms and outside. The other one that is there is from T-Mobile, and this one is considerably less expensive.
US thing.
US Cellular, thank you. I don't know why I keep trying to call them T-Mobile. Well, I'm not trying, I have been calling them T-Mobile. Considerably less expensive, but it's called Arlo. It's really a popular home security camera. The camera is $100 a piece if we got it through Arlo. It's a $10 per month service fee through US Cellular for the camera. The camera itself takes a SIM card or some sort of disc that would record any information, and then you'd have to get up and you'd have to pull it out and put it into a unit that would plug into your phone. There'd be no way for me to see anything on my phone without that. Arlo charges $18 a month for their service. And then, like I said, $10 a month per camera from the cellular company. Those cameras actually work off of a cellular signal. So it doesn't require us to have Wi-Fi, although we would have Wi-Fi in the building because we have the hotspots. So I think what's it, $1,080 to get it started. That would include some extra batteries and chargers. Wherever that camera is at, it's gonna require to get up there and change the batteries out, and it's probably not as user-friendly as the one from Absolute. However, though, we could also put them very easily at the complex and at Fairfield for about the $18. You can put it, no matter how many cameras you have, you can put on there. So let's say we did 2 cameras at Fairfield and the complex, and we did 2 cameras also at Hawks Ridge. So you're talking about $600 for the camera, the 2 cameras. Then you're talking $10 a month, so $60 a month for the camera, $18 a month for the service from Arlo, $80 a month. It is a 36-month agreement that you would have to sign. Lynn has this camera, although it's an older version, but he does have this camera at his house. So he was able to pull up some video for me and let me take a look at it. And it's just what the deputy has told me all along, is that the camera's gonna be greening, even if you are able to tell who it is. You're never gonna be able to say that they did it for sure because you don't have a camera inside. Thing with Absolute Security is that their equipment is better, and it's just gonna be a much better product that we have. Plus, it goes all the way around that building at the complex, so somebody's messing around at the back door or underneath the pavilion on the picnic tables, we get that as well. Now, we could do a combination, which would be to put a couple of these cameras from US Cellular at Hawks Ridge and put hotspot there. And it wouldn't cost us anything extra. But we could do a combination and have Absolute at the complex and then try putting these out at Hawks Ridge and kind of compare them a little bit. That's what my recommendation would be. I know there's a difference in the pricing for the cameras, but if we're gonna do it, I think we ought to do it. And make it worth our while.
So I have Arlo as well, and it's not through US Cellular, I bought my stuff at Best Buy. And I don't have any, they changed it now to where I don't have a monthly subscription, I bought it once, but Best Buy, you do have a monthly subscription in order to get 30 days of backup. The SIM card that you talk about, I've got that in mind, it just overwrites once it gets full. You can get as big a SIM card as you want.
Yeah.
The batteries, I think now you can have it where you just plug it into where you don't have to do batteries. That would be a pain in the butt to have.
Yeah,
batteries.
especially because the cameras are on the outside and the only electric that we have is on the inside.
Yeah, and I also have a WISE, WYZE, and I don't know how good the security system, the other one you had as far as quality. The WISE is hands down way better. I mean, you can really, I can show you both of them, the difference from the Arlo to the WISE, and that in order you have to have a monthly subscription. There's that's not through the US Cellular either, but you can buy as many as you want. You want, all of a sudden now you want one up at Heartland Heights, you just add a camera up there, you'd have to get a hotspot, but you know what you need for security systems, but.
And Absolute is the one that does security here at City Hall, so if we wanna see what kind of quality it is, I mean, all we have to do is go down and look at the monitors.
For me is if you could see. If one of these three or only one can picture who that person is by looking at their face, then if that security system can pick that up, and you can at least put identify clothing or whether to have something to go with it, then. To me, that's hands down the one to go with.
I think what I like about Absolute is the fact that I can get real-time alerts. So, sometimes it's just kids messing around and I don't need to go down there.
And my phone's been going off and mine does that too.
Yeah.
You can set it for a certain time to where it goes off and on, and even the zone, you can pick the zone
Yeah.
for it to watch. And I mean, all of them really do that, but
Sensitivity and the time in between motion. It's like just kids playing around, it won't. Come back for maybe a minute or 30 seconds.
Yeah, I don't think
Arlo
Arlo,
does make a 4K.
I don't think Arlo will do that. What Scott had told me, when of course he's not selling the Arlo product, is that it's like it refreshes. So even on the SIM card, if I was plug in and look at it, it's not a video continuous through, it's like it refreshes.
so I have mine set up to where I think mine records in 15-second increments.
Yeah.
I can set the parameters to that, and I can go back, I don't know, 30 days or 7 days, I haven't looked back that far, but I do want to suggestion, Joe, if you like the Arlo better than the other one, don't buy it at US Cellular. Go to Best Buy or buy it online. You don't need a 36-month.
Would the camera run you, well, that's a good point,
Yeah.
But I think the Absolute is what I'd really like to start with down at the complex, if nothing else. Let people know we are kind of watching. I put that stuff out on Facebook that we just had to close the concession or the restroom due to vandalism, and right away people are all on there. Why don't you have cameras? Why don't you have cameras? It seems like it's a recurring deal. But we've talked about this. Most of the vandalism that we've had has been very minor. It doesn't take a whole lot to clean it up. It doesn't stop anyone from using the bathroom. The vandalism we had at the complex, we had to close the bathroom down for 2 days in order to clean it and sanitize it.
Maybe a silly question, because I'm assuming whoever's vandalizing isn't gonna watch this meeting, so we can just say this out loud, but what about putting up, some people like put up EDT signs, but they don't have ADT, what about putting up a fake camera?
We have fake cameras and we have those up at the pavilion, at the complex, and it's not stopping anybody.
You think it's one individual?
I think it's one individual at the complex. But that one individual, what they're doing,
Really sick.
yeah, it's sick. And so, like I said, it's closing it down for 2 days.
I have a question then, so like if we spend the money for these good cameras. And you're gonna put them up in walkways so you can see that, are they gonna be up high enough that someone can't break them, spray them?
Well,
I don't like to spend this money and then, they spray painted it and it's ruined.
well, in the breezeway, if you've been there, and you guys have all been there, you know that those overhead doors come up and they're open all the time. So if you get too high, the doors will block the view of anybody coming in and out of the bathroom. So you have to have it low enough that you can see that. And to Scott's point is that, you know, if somebody sees that camera and really wants to dismantle it, they'll dismantle it no matter where it's at. They'll figure out a way to get to it. So you do the best, you put it where it's the most, you get the best view and you go from there.
Do they have an audible, like, you know, like on some of the home ones, you can talk back? Do they have a thing where you can add something to this where you?
If I can use your voice, can I use your voice?
Yeah.
Hey, yeah.
But that's what you said. Yeah.
I think there is, I think Scott told me there is a.
Well, I just think it would be, if you could see someone, if you could like say, hey, I'm on my way and yell at them, then a lot of times they would, you know, skedaddle if they're just.
You know, the one thing about the parks is, I know that we have hours, it's from 6 AM to 10 PM. But that's a little antiquated, I think. There's people that is not in their lifestyle. You know, they're out jogging at 4 AM because they have to be to work at 6. Or they're walking their dog at 3 AM because they work second shift. And I don't think it's fair to tell those people that we don't want them in our parks any longer by locking the bathroom doors. We tried that at the end of last year and it was more of a hassle for park staff than I think it did anything.
Well, here's what I was gonna bring up. Is it possible to put some less expensive version of electric door strikes on the bathroom where they time at a certain?
I don't know. I guess we could take a look at that type of thing. Here's what I would tell you guys. For 3 years, I've been telling you, I don't need cameras. I don't need cameras. I don't need cameras. I finally have come to you with what I think is a good quote saying, I need this camera. So if we want to nickel and dime it, let's nickel and dime it. Tell me. Otherwise, let's get a camera up there that's gonna work and do what we need it to do.
I think that not necessarily the one that was quoted from yesterday, but to Tom's point, I think what a lot of these companies, you know, Arlo, you said Wise, Blink through Amazon, they're probably pretty close to on par with what Absolute has, with the exception of maybe wired versus battery, but they have wired versions. So I don't know if it's nickel and diming per se, it's just there's potentially better solutions. And most of these, as long as you're, you know, part of their cloud service, I think through Blink, you get like 3 days free, otherwise you have to pay for the cloud service. It pops to your phone, as many phones as you want. You can access it online. So I don't know if you need everything that Absolute, plus you could maybe, so if you think it's one individual, you might be able to solve it with just or a couple simple cameras. And if the problem subsides, go put them somewhere else, because you have the flexibility to move them wherever.
Well, it's one individual today. Tomorrow it might be 2 individuals. Next month, maybe 3 individuals. So, I will go back and repeat the statement I just said. Because Arlo basically is a home camera. And that's the quality you get for it.
Yeah.
What Absolute is proposing is a commercial security system. So, if that's what you'd rather have is the Arlo system, just tell me that's what we wanna do.
So you had suggested a hybrid for doing one and doing one. If that's the case, then which components, what's the cost difference for that? If we do what you suggested?
Well, the difference is, the camera through Arlo is only $100. Tom, you say I can get it at Best Buy for
Yes.
better than that, so. I think the cameras at Hawks Ridge and at Fetter makes sense for the smaller, for the home style type camera. The complex, however, though, is a whole different thing. We've got I don't know, what, maybe $40,000 worth of equipment in that back shed.
Well, I'm just saying, like, they've got all these cameras listed, so do you need all of these at the complex, or do you just need 2 of those 4? Or I don't know what you're telling me you need.
I think we need them all. I think if we're gonna do it, we need them all. And if we decide in a year that we put that up, and we don't need it, Scott will come back and take them down. We're not locked into them forever.
But that quote is, I think, Mary Ann, you're asking is, that quote is for the complex.
For this, just the comp for the,
And then we
just the
would
comp.
get Arlo cameras for the other
Yeah.
locations.
Yeah, and he thinks he can even see better from the complex. Because if there's a line of sight, he thinks he can see it. The problem is, there's that white fence that goes up in front of the bathroom doors. I don't think he'd ever be able to see it from the complex. You'd have to put a camera down.
And you're not gonna be able to pick out, the only one you're gonna know is when, so that kind of defeats the purpose of something that far away.
And Joe mentioned that we have absolute here, but we also have them at the library, at the water plant, the sewer plant, shop. They do all of our
And
projects.
this is pretty standard to what we pay for their location.
Well,
Have cameras. This is the alarm system for the doors,
Yeah,
and
and
these,
entry and burglar and motion.
and these cameras were already in place because it used to be a bank. So we didn't buy cameras from them when we transferred.
So if we do this, we own these cameras
That's
then,
part of your $1 deal.
Yeah. Cool.
right? So this, we would own these cameras,
I think we would own the camera, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Alright. I
And they're wireless, the cameras are wireless to the system, or they're wired?
They're wired.
I was gonna say, 'cause you got a network switch.
Yeah, they're wired. We would probably have to upgrade our hotspots so that they had an Ethernet connection. Right now, our hotspots do not have that. But it's just an upgrade. We own our hotspots, so. If we got a hotspot with an Ethernet connection and put it in the complex, we could take one of the other hotspots and take it to. Hawks Ridge, for example, and put it in the back room, in the janitor's closet, and then we'd be able to hook up those smaller cameras.
And Joe, this is his installation cost?
Yeah.
Sure, Parks and Sure.
I don't
Parks and
have a
Labor.
problem with it, cause I think we're fortunate we haven't had more damage. That $5,000 in damage, the way some people,
Joe, you live it every day, you've been through it, you talk about it, it's a problem, and now it's here the 1st of April. You think this system is the best one, and I'm all for that, you've done the research, I get it.
Well,
I know what these do.
if you use this system, you can always upgrade to a better camera, it's already, the infrastructure's there.
Yeah,
I heard a motion on a second.
Just, all right, I am curious, like, I get that if you have like a storage rack that you probably want to monitor, but. I don't know if that's a little excessive, 27-inch monitor versus just,
that just happens to be the size that he has. I mean, you could put whatever, that's just, the monitor's $100. I mean, it's not a big part of what this is. What I really like about this is, having the alert in the middle of the night if something's going on. If I have to get to the complex, I can be down there in a few minutes. And hopefully stop something from getting worse than what it is.
You call the sheriff too, and all of a sudden they
Yeah.
see the sheriff going down there, cause then little Johnny's gonna get maybe caught, or he's gonna scare away, and that's the last time he's gonna do that, right?
Right.
Well, I think we buy a gun which is significantly cheaper, and after you shoot the first one dead, it really sends a message.
will buy a
In
burner,
self-defense.
a burner.
You gotta
then
string
you
them
won't-
up.
then you won't go
With
to
the serial
jail.
number filed off that was brought over from the Middle East, but that's a different story. The serious answer though is, yeah, I think something is needed, and if we're all leaning towards the more professional system that can do a better job of either accurately, what am I trying to say here?
I mean,
Showing the face of the person who's doing it or
it
getting an
sounds
idea.
like a
of
lot of
where it is.
money, but if it lasts 10 years, what does that cost? And you know,
Good thing.
do you know what I'm saying? If we get a better system, it should last a lot longer. And if you're happy with what we have here and it's still here. And how long have we been here?
And I get the one point of, let's try something cheaper first, but the counterpoint is, if we get a lower res camera, okay, great, we saw the person do it.
We don't know who.
That's where it ends,
If you're gonna do a wired system like this, then we can always build a farm if we had to.
The other thing is, and I think Brian would probably, back this up too. Scott is there when you need him. If you need something, he's there. When I call him, you know, he recognizes my phone number, says, "Hi, Joe." I'm sure he does the same thing with Brian, with Lynn too.
Really good about service
Yeah,
in a short time.
and so some of that is, you know, part of that $4,900, I think we're buying service.
Does he drive around town part-time?
No.
You know,
I am a little disappointed that he wasn't Air Force. I was looking at his.
Council, with all due respect, you have spent many more minutes discussing this than you did on a $600,000 pickleball court. So I would,
don't take the pickleball court
so
away.
I would recommend we have a first and a second on the
So we
floor.
gotta revisit the pickleball.
So what you're saying,
We could, but it's not on the agenda.
We have a first and a second, so I'm gonna ask.
I'll make a motion. or,
Well,
We've already got a motion.
We already have a first and a second, I just need an all in favor, please.
First and second for what the absolute.
Yes.
yes.
And then do we need to add to that motion so he can also put up a few of the, Arlo cameras at the other location?
This is just for the comp, or is it?
This is just for the
That's what I
complex.
thought, yeah.
So if we want him to be able to put up the Arlos, we need to add that to this.
But
Well,
just,
it's within my purchasing power
There
too.
you go.
but just to clarify, so the one that looks like he'll sell probably like a 2K, they make 4K ones, so you might as well get one that's picture quality on par with the absolute. I wouldn't go cheaper with the Arlos or whatever brand.
So we just say a different system at Hawks, and where was it?
Complex.
No, this is complex better.
Oh, I see.
For the bathroom second. And automatically put them up at. Heartland,
Eventually,
I mean, automatically, I'd say, that goes in there.
Last question, the service fee, is it just for one user or is it per like IP address? Cause if you have different hotspots,
you know-
there will be different IP addresses.
well, this one I don't know because we only talked about the one location. The Arlo, though, would cover as many, we could put as many cameras up as we wanted. With or without, you know, went to Best Buy or whatever, we could put as many up.
Well, I'm getting as if you had a hotspot here and across under this one, they're gonna read different IP addresses. And I don't know if I can pick up on that and charge you two service fees.
If Scott thought that if he can see it, he's got a mile that he can go.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So if he can see it, he can do it. Now, when we got the hotspots originally for the credit card machine, we were told that wasn't accurate. But we've also got just regular hotspots. I mean, there's nothing to them.
All right, no more questions.
Aye. All in favor? I have one eye. please.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, move on to item number 33, discussion of city clerk's search timing, Dustin. yours.
Well, as per my original discussion with Cynthia, I'm just honoring her original discussion. We've still got some stuff we've got to complete. Her and I have talked about that in your list before you. I was just wondering if once I start getting this stuff done, if I have permission to start posting a job for her. So we can get someone in here for her to train. I still have to accomplish all this and I intend to do, work with her on accomplishing all this stuff before she chooses to leave, but. I also.
Allowed to leave.
But Dustin's looking for some guidance here.
Do we talk about this last meeting or meeting before we were just gonna hold off for a while? I mean, I don't.
At least a year or two.
I think you need to know the timeline before we can.
Well, she did originally, yes, we did, but she also stated around April, May that we start looking the process, or we start talking.
Yeah, that was our plan in January.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would suggest we get through this list.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be able to do those things and train a new clerk. But, I mean, we can discuss it, revisit and see where we are in May.
Sure.
That's you guys' comfort.
Okay,
I don't have a drop day, I've gotta be gone.
Well, I'm hearing you're not leaving.
Yeah, clean out your ear.
Okay, let's just leave it at that then,
All right,
work
cool.
on this and then.
Well, and I think part of this, when we go through the hiring policy, some of that will flush out, you know, what the timing is and how involved the council is on the hiring process for the clerk, because the clerk is hired by the council.
Okay, Justin, do you have what you need from the council?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you,
Okay,
Council.
item number 34. Now that we've got done with our fiscal year 26 budget, we're gonna do a fiscal year 25. We're gonna back up and do we're just setting a public hearing date for budget amendment number 2. Public hearing date of May 13th.
And that's the latest you can do a budget amendment, and we almost every year do one in May. One of the main reasons is we don't know about the insurance bill until it's on your April claims, and so we'll look at everybody's budget amount and other things, projects and that kind of stuff. The next meeting, I'll give you a detailed line by line item of any amendments.
Motion to set the public hearing date of May 13th.
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please, Marion. Aye.
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 Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the claims. Are there any questions on the bills identified?
And of course, I will add the property purchase agreements that you approved during the meeting. Those aren't on here yet.
Any other comments or questions? Not need a motion to approve paying the bill, please.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Moving on to item 36, opportunity for citizens not on the agenda, patients.
Hello.
Mary?
Yes, my name is Mary Zamstil. I think I have a loud enough voice that I don't need to use the stand back there. I have a couple of concerns. 508 Meadow Oak Circle.
Okay, thank you.
I was just curious about, the discussion was held about the recycling and with the waste going up. How much is the glass recycling being utilized? Is it worth it that our bill has gone up?
They emptied it once already. It was totally full.
And how much capacity is that? I haven't taken anything down there, I don't know.
God, what is that? Probably what, 20 foot by 10 by 6? Probably.
40 yard, isn't it?
Yeah.
So basically what you're telling me, it is strongly utilized. I don't have a problem with that, I was just curious about that. My second concern, and I know this was brought up before the council last year, and it's been a thorn in my side. And it's the topic of the fireworks. I know last year around, I don't know if it was around this time, but a survey was sent out and there was feedback from the residents of Fairfax. And I believe the results came back in favor of reducing the amount of time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was the council made the decision to ignore that survey because it felt, or you felt, that a lot of people did not respond, therefore they didn't care if the fireworks were going on that long. In my opinion, my sole opinion, I shouldn't say my sole opinion because it is also the opinion of other people that I spoke with and other people that addressed the council and the chatter on Facebook and social media, was that the council did not really heed the will of the people of Fairfax. If the people of Fairfax chose not to respond and say yes or no, then that was their right, and they didn't use or utilize that opportunity, therefore tough luck, in my opinion. So I felt like the survey results were ignored and you're supposed to represent the people of Fairfax, who spoke up in favor of limiting the extensive use of time for Fairfax fireworks. Please note, I'm not opposed to the use of fireworks. But a week or a shorter week or a weekend surrounding the holiday should be sufficient. If you consider that Cedar Rapids does not have nearly the amount of time. In fact, I don't even think Cedar Rapids allows fireworks within the limits of Cedar Rapids. There's the concern for animals who are afraid of the noise. There's people, older people, younger people, any person who is bothered. I remember when my son was little, even going to a parade, he was frightened of the fireworks and the noise. Veterans who are suffering from PTSD have concerns. So I guess what I want is potentially for you folks to somehow come up with an idea, because July 4th is approaching, to perhaps send out another survey and let people know that it is important that they respond if their will is to be heard. And then follow the results of the survey. If more people say they don't want that long period that is currently in effect, and I can't define that because I don't remember the confines of that particular time frame. If more people say they don't want it, then please follow that. That's my request. Thank you.
Mary, thanks for your comment. It's at the council's option as to whether to respond tonight or not.
It is not really their council. They don't have the option to respond.
Right.
They can ask for it to be on a future agenda or direct it to staff, but it's not on the agenda for discussion.
Okay. So thank you.
Thank
for
you.
your input. Okay, any other citizens with comments tonight?
So wait a minute, I do have a question. By your lack of response or silence, does that mean that my concerns are not going to be addressed or listened to?
No, that's just a procedural matter because it wasn't separately identified as a topic on the agenda.
Okay,
They
thank
can't
you.
really discuss
Thank you for
it.
that clarification.
We
No.
can ask you like questions or comments, but actually talking about the policy would be something that have to be on the agenda. So like I could say, Cedar Rapids doesn't allow fireworks. Are fireworks shot off in Cedar Rapids?
Are you asking me a question?
Sure, anybody can answer.
Okay, what's the question?
Are Cedar Rapids, is it banned in Cedar Rapids?
Yes, I believe it is.
Are they shot off in Cedar Rapids?
Are fireworks by individuals shut off in Cedar Rapids? Probably.
Oh, no, not probably. Answer truthfully. The answer is a crap ton. And are any of them arrested or fined for it? And what, not right now, because it's not agenda topic, but if you were to come back, you would need to say what way we'd be able to enforce that. Because the current answer is it's not enforceable.
I understand, but for some people, it's a deterrent. For me, I'm a rule follower. And if it says I'm not supposed to be shooting off fireworks after or whenever, then I'm not gonna do it. And maybe, just maybe, it might help solve some of the problem.
Mary? So you have the option of requesting that this topic be added to next month's agenda.
Can I verbally do that at this point? Or do I need to send an email to you?
I would prefer it if you do it.
Okay.
In writing, sure.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, thanks again, Mary.
Sure.
Item 37, mayor's comments. I have nothing to add. Dustin, do you have any?
Everything I had to say is in my report there. Thank you.
Okay. City clerk treasurer comments? Cynthia?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, council.
Are we supposed to keep moving the room?